Hello, my name is Jason Leahy, Executive Director of the Illinois Principals Association. Grateful for you joining me for this IPA talk. And with me today, excited to have our not too, I guess a little bit recently announced 2024 High School Principal of the Year, Natalie Page, Principal at Cesar Valliere High School down in our Egyptian region. So Natalie, first and foremost, congratulations again to you for this outstanding honor. Well-deserved. Appreciate your leadership there. And of course, some of the things you've done with the association over the years. So appreciate you also taking a few minutes out of a busy Friday morning to spend a few minutes with me.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. I am honored to have the award presented to me. I know that there are so many principals out there deserving and doing the same kind of work I do. I was just fortunate enough to have somebody nominate me and to have several people say nice things about me to get this award. But I know there's people all over the state doing the exact same stuff I'm doing every day.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure about that. Well, Natalie, you've been at Cesar Valliere your entire career, if I'm reading all of that correctly. That's something that doesn't happen often anymore, and maybe it never has really, but for someone to spend their entire career in one location and, progressing in that way is pretty significant. I want to talk a little bit about that, but you've also in that period of time not just been in one location, but in that location you have served in multiple grade levels at the elementary level, and of course now you're at the high school level as well. So you've got quite a vast experience that you've had. But I'm just really curious, and this is something I like to talk with our principals of the year about when we do these IPA talks. Just kind of curious about your journey to leadership. What got you to the point where you are right now? You're in your ninth year of this current position, which again beats the typical statistics. So that in itself is a significant feat, and obviously, it's paying off when you look at the recognition you've got now. So can you just talk a little bit about your story for us?
Sure. I always get taught lessons in my life. When I say I'm never going to do something, that seems to then I think the Lord has a different plan and laughs and says, "Ha ha ha! You're going to." I can remember when I was going through college, I said, I think I'll do anything, but I never want to teach kindergarten. That sounds terrible. And then guess where my first position was? It was in kindergarten. I was there and I learned a lesson and I absolutely loved it. I was there for 12 years. And that takes an emotional toll on a person. And so after 12 years, I thought I need to move up a little bit. So I moved up one whole grade to first grade, and I was there 6 years. And it was, I loved teaching. And as I was teaching, I said, maybe I'll just continue to move grades, but I never want to be a principal. And then guess what happened? I, got the bug and felt the call to leadership. And so then I went back and got my principal degree. And the high school position came open at our school. And so I put in for it, and here I am. I think you spoke to my longevity at the district, and Cesar Valliere is a little bit of a unique place. It's a very small town, two very small towns that have come together to make one community, and that's what we are. When we do interviews, some of the candidates will say, what makes Cesar Valliere a special place, or what's one word to describe Cesar Valliere, and all the administrators say the same thing because it's true. It's family. I've always felt like the people I work with are just one big family, and the kids are part of that family, obviously, and it's a great place to be. And then even when I moved into leadership, you said that 9 years is a long time in one spot, but I've always had support from my superintendent, the other administrators, and I've always felt like even when times were tough, people had my back, and also the work is so important. It's not easy, but it's important. And my community's worth it. Our kids are worth it. And somebody's got to do it.
That's right. So you talked about, kind of the call to leadership. Could you walk us through that a little bit? I mean, can you think of a specific moment, or was it a series of events, or, what kind of drew you in to thinking this is probably something I need to do?
Well, as I went through my teaching, we had grade levels. There were 2 or 3 teachers per grade level, and I just kept surfacing as the leader of the grade level, or I was the one pushing, hey, let's try this, let's try that. And I worked with fantastic people who they trusted me, and they went along with my crazy ideas. And but I also had a nice balance of, hey, let's slow down. That seems like a little much. And I always tried to listen to other people's opinions. So I had people go along with me, and then I started becoming the senior teacher, and just age-wise, there was that.
Funny how that works, right? Time just ticking on. So there you go.
Yes. Yeah. And so then I became, I think, even more of the, in the leadership role. And then I had a couple people put a bug in my ear. Hey, you may be really good at this. No, I don't, that's not for me. I don't want that. I would miss the kids. And, but I don't know, it was just a tug in the heart that this is the way you need to head. And so I kind of tried to ignore that tug for a little bit, but as with everything else, the tug just got stronger. So that's where I headed.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, talk to us a little bit, Natalie, about, what you've got going on in your school right now. I figure, when I think about my tenure here at IPA in particular, and doing this job for a while, you're probably long past the time where you kind of got the wind at your back just a bit. You obviously have a lot of ownership in that place, being the leader of that over 9 years. I'm guessing you have, while always working and growing and doing some things, have some of the systems and such as you would want them to be, which I think is one of the things that is a benefit of being in a leadership position for a while. But knowing you being the reflective and thoughtful person that you are, always looking to get better. So just kind of curious about what you have going on at Cesar-Valier High School right now, and maybe also just talking about some of the things that you're really proud of.
Well, we've made some changes this year. When I first got into the leadership position, I'm a bit of a perfectionist and a people pleaser. So if I wanted to make changes, I would try to make them, but I didn't want to burden other people with them. So I just, I'll try to do more of the work, or I will try to take that on. And what I found the hard way was when you don't include your people in that, they don't have buy-in, they don't have a voice. And so I had some things fall flat, and had to learn a lesson that they didn't feel trusted. And that's not why I wasn't doing it. It was for a different reason, but they weren't on board. So several opportunities have kind of coalesced and came together. I'm part of the PTL grant, the Partner to Lead. The ROE reached out to me and said, would you like to be a part of this? Is there something you need to work on and you want to focus on? And Jason Henry, my superintendent, he presented this to me, and I said, he and I had talked about how I sometimes do that. And so he said, this might be a good opportunity to jump in and really focus on that. And I said, that is a great idea. So I had that opportunity, and then all of this PACE, post-secondary stuff is coming down the pipeline from the state. And then we're having to make the pathways for college and career readiness. And so all of that kind of came together, and I did my research and applied for a grant and was awarded the grant. So we have, I kind of started fresh with something I had tried to start when I first became a principal, was what I called Life 101. And that's the thing I kind of took on myself and didn't get teacher input. And I really tried to make that a fresh start. And we had meetings this summer, and I had the teachers help me set up this Life 101, which is what we call our RTI time, enrichment time. And what we try to do is focus on college and careers, financial literacy, and we've been trying to do that, but it's been hit and miss all these years. Well, with this post-secondary requirements coming down from the state, it was the perfect opportunity to revamp that and put in teacher voice and teacher choice. What would you like to teach? How can we do this better? And so we were able to, this year, we were able to, as a group, come up with a system that the teachers were able to teach to their strengths and what they had interest in. And we were able to make a system that is aligned vertically. And then I was awarded this grant. So we're adding in a manufacturing class next year. And we've really been able to make some stuff happen in the CTE post-secondary area.
Yeah, that's outstanding. That's wonderful. And I'm guessing you're probably getting some better results as you're working more collaboratively with your team there.
Yes. We all have a common language. Yeah. We all have a common focus, and they were part of the decision making. And so they're able to see better, when you give people the information, and then they can really understand it better, and they're a part of it. So lesson learned.
Yeah, you bet. Well, I think this speaks to kind of one of the other things I wanted to talk with you about, Natalie, is, as I'm reading up and preparing for our time here this morning, those that spoke into your application just talked about you having really a growth mindset, being a deeply reflective person, being thoughtful about what you do. So, curious about either speaking to those couple of things or other critical attributes that you think are important for school leaders to be effective.
Well, it hit me several years ago, many, many years ago. We asked the students to constantly improve and learn. But if we're not doing that ourselves, what kind of example are we? Mm-hmm. And so I have always, and I've just always loved learning, and I've always called myself an education nerd. So, and I see the importance of continual growth. So, if I want the students, and even now the teachers who I'm trying to lead, if I want them to grow and learn and improve, and I want my students to grow and learn and improve, then I have to do the same thing. And I try to be very open about the things I struggle with and my past hiccups or failures or areas of growth, whatever you want to call them. But I try to be very open about that so that others can see I'm still a work in progress, as we all are. And it's okay to be that. And it's important to learn and grow. So I think that is one of the important things about a leader, is to show you don't have all the answers and you're still learning and growing.
Yeah, you bet. Well, it's obvious, just with your transparency during our conversation here that you're absolutely striving to do that daily. Before we hit the record button, though, I had asked you the question about maybe some thoughts that you had about some things we want to make sure that we cover here, and I'm grateful that you discussed the importance of being an advocate. And I think for school leaders at the building level, that sometimes is, I think, from my experiences and interactions with lots of building leaders over the years, it's sometimes something I think we feel like we need to leave to the superintendent. That position obviously has a little bit more of a political bent to it, just because of having to work with school boards who are elected officials. Superintendents tend to work with more closely with community members and maybe legislators. But there's definitely a place for advocacy and an absolute need for advocacy from building leaders, particularly as we are having decisions made in other places, be it in Springfield or in Washington, D.C., where policies are being determined that do impact our lives and our ability to do things for kids. Some of the policies being wonderful when you think about like the evidence-based funding formula, and some other stuff that we do question when you think about the variety of mandates, curricular and otherwise, then that we have to contend with. And so you talked a little bit about that, especially as you look at the point in time where you are in your career and thinking about the type of impact you want to have. So, what brought that up, for you now, and what are you thinking about that moving forward?
Well, as I was telling you earlier, I'm getting a little closer to the end of my career. I'm in the last quarter of it. I'm even getting a little down, even closer to the end. But I told you
You're in good company, by the way. I mean, we're all getting a little closer these days.
And I thought, what is my purpose as I finish out? How do I want to finish? I know I want to finish strong, but what I don't just want to coast. What do I want to do? And I thought, I feel like I want to be an advocate for educators. You talked about being a building leader. You see a little more boots on the ground, even than the superintendent. And in my district, we're a small district, so he sees just about what I do. But I think back even to one of my secretaries last summer. No kids in the building. She's working on reports for the state, and it was a new report. And I go into her office, and she's crying. And I say, "What's wrong?" And she said, I don't have the time to finish all these reports. I had the same amount of time 10 years ago in my days that are allotted, but there's so much to report now. I can't get it all done." And she was so stressed out, and I just thought, that is terrible. This is a lady who comes to school. She doesn't get paid a ton of money, but she is having so much stress, and it's basically all these reports that are being mandated. And we, hopefully this information is being used for something, but the school's not getting more money to hire more people to do these reports. And, I just, in my head, I was thinking, oh gosh, I hope she doesn't quit. And, because what she does, she's done for so long, you can't replace that knowledge and that history she has. But it's stuff like that, or it's the amount of new laws that are coming down. I think there's one on some sort of tick management or something.
Oh, and that's true.
Yes. I just thought, do we really need a law and a special person to manage that?
Yeah.
I'm sure that law came out of, the best interest of kids and an incident that happened, and somebody's trying to do that, to be helpful. But in the educational circles, that's such it's just so shocking. Like, really? That's where we are now, and it's too much. It is too much. We're feeling choked out, and you've got a lot of good people in education working hard, but they're getting tired.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think, now, Natalie, with your platform as high school principal of the year, it's definitely going to give you some opportunities. And now with recently Speaker Welch putting together a working group of other legislators to look at the educator pipeline and the shortage. It's going to be time that we get people to the table that can speak specifically to the types of stories that you have, and those are good ones for us here. So I appreciate you, elevating that and thinking about that for yourself, which I think will be an encouragement to all of us to make sure that we can get engaged, which we need to be always, but in particular during this time of the year when the General Assembly and things are in session. So thank you for that. And as we wrap up here, just want to make sure that we congratulate you again for this outstanding recognition. And hopefully you're able to take a little time here and enjoy the moment of it all too, right? With your school district and with your family and all of that kind of good stuff. So thanks, Natalie. Appreciate you spending some time with me.
Thank you very much.
Bet. Again, my name is Jason Leahy, Executive Director of the Illinois Principals Association, joined by Natalie Page, who is the High School Principal of the Year this year, High School Principal at Cesar-Valier. As always, if there's anything that the IPA can do for you, don't hesitate to give us a call or check us out on the web at ilprincipals.org. Take care.